Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a quick little discussion about the upcoming Mass Effect Trilogy remaster. So BioWare has announced officially the release date of the remaster, which is going to be May 14th. And I'm super excited. As somebody who's loved the Mass Effect series since I first played it back on the Xbox 360 days, it's one of those games that just sticks with you. You know, if you enjoyed it back then, and then you enjoyed it when it was backwards compatible on the Xbox One, and then I've played it again on PC, you're probably going to be looking forward to something like this. So this is going to be awesome for anybody who's a true Mass Effect fan or a true BioWare fan. Now, the problem with a lot of the stuff that I've been seeing about people talking about this is, since a lot of people own this stuff already, there's been talks about, will they get it for free? Will this be an update for people who already own content? I think the closest example we'd find to something like this happening would be if we went back to Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning. So that was an IP that's been dead for a decade. And it got bought by THQ Nordic. They went in, they did a bunch of new settings, they retuned a lot of the visuals and stuff like that, and then they resold it. And what they did was they offered a discount for people who had already purchased it. So if you already owned the title, I forget what the discount was, but I think it was $20 off, so it became a $40 purchase, which is nice of them to do, but ultimately, I don't think that's going to be happening in the case of BioWare, not because of greed, but because the devs have put in time and work, and if you've played Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that the outlier is Mass Effect 1. Hands down, Mass Effect 1 is by far the least like the rest of the trilogy. The combat's different, the visuals are different. The visuals in Mass Effect 2 aren't great compared to like Mass Effect 3, but they're still not ideal. So it's like those two games specifically, Mass Effect 1 and 2, are probably going to get the most significant overhaul, which isn't surprising since the original Mass Effect was released in oh my god, I said it again, it's not 2007, it's '07, 2007. So that's almost 14 years ago. That's incredibly long in terms of video game design. There's so many different things that have changed in terms of lighting, level design, like user interface, making it so that it's user friendly so people don't get confused. I mean, there's so much to it that if you're actually a true fan of BioWare's games and the original Mass Effect, you've got to be looking forward to this. So I just want to show a few clips here to show the enhanced visuals and explain basically what you can expect to see in the enhanced visuals, because if you're nitpicky, I've heard a few people online have already said it looks authentic. It looks more authentic in the original version versus what they did in the remaster. And I'm sure there's people who aren't going to like the style of the remaster, but I don't think there's a way you could argue that overall the game's going to look any worse. It's going to look better. So if we just take a look at this video over here, what you can see is in the top left it says original. Now as I pull this white bar across, you're going to be able to see how the graphics change. So if you look at the rock, this rock is lit up, but if you look at everything else around it, it's very dark. It's a very dark game. Mass Effect 1 and 2 aren't bright. But if you look at what they've remastered and made it look like, there's been a lot of changes. So the HUD's changed, the brightness is there, it looks like there's overhead sunlight engaging the character. And you can see the shine from the sun. Like you can see the rays. Like everything is brighter. You can tell that there's a light source hitting it even through the clouds. All of this stuff has been added to the game. And if you look at Shepard, Shepard has a helmet. And you can just see the upgrade in terms of Shepard and Shepard's gear. And you can tell by the style. Look at how the person is walking. It's similar to Mass Effect 1. But I'm betting the reason that you're so much closer on your character here is because they reworked the combat system. So the combat system in Mass Effect 1 is nothing like 2 and 3. In Mass Effect 1, I never played on a hard difficulty, but you don't have the same cover mechanics, peeking, and like fighting style as you do in Mass Effect 2 and 3, where it's like I beat Mass Effect 2 on nightmare difficulty recently. You have to sit behind cover and wait. And like you have to pick your shots. You have to be smart with what you're doing. And it never felt like that was the case. It felt like combat in Mass Effect 1 was more chaotic. It felt disorganized. And so hopefully they've gone through and touched up on that in addition to the visual elements. There's more clips than just that, though. So if you're familiar with the colony of Pharos, this is on the bridge, I believe, headed back from the Exogeny headquarters. I can't remember exactly. But an important thing that I want everybody to look at while I move my camera over here. Look at this vehicle right here. This is probably going to be the most emblematic thing that you can see in terms of the changes that they've made. So let's start the video. So if you look at this vehicle... Ooh, one second. I was doing it on the wrong display. But if you look at this vehicle right here, this is going to be the most important thing that they change. So if you look, it's got no shadows on it, nothing. And now you go past it. They've added debris to indicate like something exploded. There was a scuffle or something. As you can see, there's lighting from the flames on the vehicle, but then the rest over here that's opposite of the sun is just dark with shadows. So they added a different set of lighting principles, whereas in the original, I don't know how it was lit up. I don't know enough about the coding behind it. But you can clearly tell that they've taken the extra step and they've updated what was almost a 14-year-old game, and they've updated it to what I would consider the standard of the industry now, which is photorealistic lighting, having it so light sources are independent. I don't know if they're even independent, but it's like the way they've done lighting promises to be a very good... It promises to be a good remaster. That's basically what I'm trying to get at here. Because if you just go back and you look at it, that's what it looked like before. So even the vehicle gets a new character. It's a new texture. It's the same vehicle, but you can tell that it's textured differently. Like, it looks like they've gone through and they've updated so many things about the game. It looks like it's going to promise to be a massive upgrade. Now, that's the original Mass Effect. This is also the original Mass Effect. As you can see, the one on the left looks a little bit grainy. But if you look at the one on the right, the Legendary Edition... It doesn't get those jagged edges around things. Everything's smooth. The lighting in the background looks nicer. The sun or the Serpent's Nebula in the background looks nice and purple. Like, you can clearly see what's going on here. And this is Mass Effect 2. So this is what the Legendary Edition promises to do to Mass Effect 2. And this is what it originally looked like. Now you can understand my comment about Mass Effect 1 and 2 being darker in terms of their color palette than Mass Effect 3. This is a perfect indication of what they're going to be changing. I mean, you can see that obviously he gets a better character model. You can see the actual texture of his face. But going past that, you can see how there's bloom coming from the sun that you can see in the angle. You see how there's nothing there? So it looks like they're taking it to a whole nother step of realism. And so that promises to be awesome. Anybody who's a true fan of BioWare and their games should be incredibly excited for something like this. Now, they have a little hype trailer that I want to look at, but before I do, let's just go back and talk about why I think this is going to be an important Mass Effect for people to jump into. So, originally with Mass Effect, there was no DLC in Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2 had a lot of DLC, and Mass Effect 3 had even more that was even more important. Although you could argue Mass Effect 2's Kasumi and Zaid DLC was also more important than anything, but regardless, they had lots of DLC. And so what's going to be happening with DLC since it exists? What's it going to be like for the Legendary Edition? I don't know if they have any DLC planned, but all the DLC that had previously existed for Mass Effect is going to be put into the Legendary Edition. So purchasing the Legendary Edition is going to give you all the DLC that was created in the game. And that's unbelievably important, because if you're a newcomer to the series and you want to get into it, it's a pretty high price point to be able to get every single thing that's DLC related in Mass Effect. Now, you don't really need the weapon packs. You might want to get the appearance packs, although it's just cosmetic. There's no reason to get it. But to get the Zaid one, the Kasumi one, then you've got to do Lair of the Shadow Broker, and this is all Mass Effect 2, by the way. There's another one, Lair of the Shadow. Isn't there one other instead of Lair of the Shadow Broker? Oh, Overlord. Okay. So there's 4 that are necessary. There might be a 5th. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I think it's 4 that are necessary for Mass Effect 2, which lead into the next game in Mass Effect 3. And in Mass Effect 3, there's Omega, the Citadel, Leviathan. Those 3 right there are massive. And then they've also got a few more, I guess, smaller DLCs type things that you could do. It's the same where you've got cosmetics and weapons. So the fact that they're giving those all to us is incredibly awesome. And so here's a full list of the DLC. All of these things are going to be essentially free when you purchase the title. So you purchase it, I believe it's probably going to be $60, and you get all of this stuff. I think it's going to be well worth the purchase. I'm not entirely sure about the pricing, but it looks like this is what it's going to be. And it's coming out May 14th. So I'm super excited about this. But let's take a step back and how do I phrase this? Is this going to be worth the $60? If you haven't played it before, I don't know if you're going to like Mass Effect or not. I love it. I can recommend people buy it, but the state that it's in, like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 as they currently are before the remaster, I don't think I recommend it to people who aren't tech savvy, because it's difficult to take a file from Mass Effect 1 and get it into Mass Effect 2 if you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing, so I know how to do it, but if you're not good with computers, it's annoying to be able to play those games. So it promises, like the remaster promises to be a much more user-friendly entry point into the series than anything else. So I would suggest just waiting until the remaster comes out. As far as I'm concerned, the devs worked really hard on this. You can tell that it's a labor of love. Like there's a huge fan base within the BioWare fan base. There's the Mass Effect fan base has to be the biggest. Like KOTOR hasn't existed for like almost 2 decades. Dragon Age is like here and there, on and off, but I don't think Dragon Age ever reached the hype that Mass Effect did. And so the fact that they're going back and remastering this for the fans of the original trilogy and making it better for a player, in my case, like the original Mass Effect, you can't even play it in 4K. Like there's some games that are old on PCs that you just can't play in 4K because they don't have a 4K resolution. They stop at like 1080p or something like that. So it promises to be a huge upgrade for somebody like me who's playing on console, or who started on console, swapped over to PC, and realized that the consoles were just much more user-friendly because they can't have you do this type of stuff you would do on a PC on the console. So it has to be more convenient for the user. So let's just watch this little hype trailer here. This little hype trailer should be a little bit nice, but it gives you an idea of what's been going on and what's going to happen. So it's through Twitter, so don't judge the visuals on what they like as an emblematic of the game. It's, I guess, just what I feel when I see these clips that I kind of want to impart on everybody. The intro to Mass Effect 2, Omega. I'm going to just name off everything right here. It was definitely groundbreaking. That is the Citadel orbiting above Earth. And it's going to be remastered, obviously, in 4K. That is the Citadel DLC. I believe this is the original entrance into the Citadel, the first time you ever go there. That's the Crucible docking at the Citadel. This is obviously the Citadel title card, blah, blah, blah. That's Sovereign. That's Ashley. That's Javik. That's Liara. Collectors. Garrus. Kasumi. Sovereign again. I mean, that was Arya Talo for a second. That's Normandy. That's Sovereign again. Or that's Harbinger. That's Tally. Killing herself. That's, worst one. Grunt. Legion. Like, at this point, you can hear me clapping. I'm just, like, once you watch this, like, I can't express to you guys how hyped I am for this, man. Mass Effect is by far my favorite RPG trilogy. By far. Oh my god, the elusive man. Sending out the signal, the fucking Thresher Maw. Zaev. Oh my god.
Born to do this.
Yep. Oh man. Like, I am so hyped for this. And if you look at the bottom, it says single player content only. So what does that mean with the single player content only? That means, I believe, that they're taking out the multiplayer component in Mass Effect 3. I can't say that for certain. I don't know if that's been confirmed. But from what I've seen, I don't think multiplayer is going to be the main focus of this. I think this is meant to be a single player title. So they're probably going to be taking out effective military, or effective strength, or whatever the thing was called. And it's effectively just a multiplier that went from 50 to 100. And if you didn't have it at 100, whatever your strength total was would be cut in half, because you'd have 50%, or whatever percentage you had, that would be the level of strength that you had. So you need to get more strength. You need to get twice as much to essentially get to where you were. So it's obnoxious that it existed in the game, but I feel like they're going back and removing it. I can't confirm it, but it looks like that's going to be the case. So what does this mean to everybody who's a fan of BioWare and a fan of Mass Effect? We just got to wait out the clock. May 14th's the date. And on May 14th, we'll be able to play Mass Effect Remastered, and I will be able to play the original Mass Effect in 4K. I'm just hyped for that. With increased visual fidelity. Oh, man. I'm just hyped. Because there's so many clips I could show you of how the graphics in the original Mass Effect just don't hold up. And the fact that they went back, retouched them, redid them, they're going to re-release it. I'm just incredibly excited for it. So hopefully you guys are too. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff like that on the channel. Definitely going to be surrounding Mass Effect as a topic because it's by far... But I don't think there's an RPG series that I like more than Mass Effect. I'm thinking in the back of my head trying to figure it out. Like, obviously, The Elder Scrolls is great, but The Elder Scrolls, the last release was in 2011, and they haven't released one in the last decade. And they're not going to release one in the last decade. Like, they've got Elder Scrolls Online, but that's not the same thing. So, I mean, it's kind of comparing apples and oranges. You can take your save from Mass Effect 1, put it into 2, take the save from 2, and put it into 3. And you can continue your same story, whereas in Skyrim, you're obviously not going to be continuing the same story in Elder Scrolls 6. So, there's going to be some differences. It's going to look a lot better. And I think the hype around this is definitely deserved. I think it's probably going to be the best BioWare title in the last decade, just thinking about it. I mean, it's obviously a remaster, but what has BioWare released in the last decade? You've got Dragon Age Inquisition, you've got Anthem, you've got Andromeda. I mean, I don't even think there's a question. This is probably the most highly anticipated thing they've done, and it's purely fan service. So, could we see this as a return of BioWare going back to the days of old, where they're truly a great RPG development company? I don't think you can go that far, because obviously they're just remastering an IP that they've already produced, but I think this is a step in the right direction. And it gets me incredibly hyped because they've also announced the next Mass Effect game is being worked on, and they have a trailer showing us some of that stuff. So I'm going to be coming back in another video talking about the next Mass Effect, talking about that as an installation and how it can continue going after Andromeda. So we'll see what ends up happening there. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Drop a like and subscribe, and check back into the channel tomorrow. I'll be doing another news type video, like an announcement of stuff that's going on. I don't know if it's going to be exactly tomorrow. It depends on the news for the day. But there's so much gaming news. There's so many things to keep up on. There's so many things talking about updates in games here and there. So I'm going to start trying to get those out and start trying to release videos that are not thematic to any specific game, but just gaming news in general. And to me, this is the biggest gaming news that has happened this week. So on February 2nd, they have confirmed on May 14th, we are going to be getting the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And I will be on it, I will stream it, I'll be playing it, and I'll be uploading content up to release, trying to get everybody ready, showing people what's the best strategy, what's the best stuff to do, and basically how I mean, man, I'm just happy they went back and did this, man. Like I said earlier, this looks like it's a labor of love from the devs. It looks like they put a lot of time and effort into it, and I really want to just get into the game, play it a ton, and show you guys what is so special to me about this RPG. So I'll see you guys next time. Hope you had a great day and enjoyed this content. Not much more left for me to say except I'm out of here. Peace.